Mr. Hanna,
Mr. Evans.
do you have the details of the mission prepared before we start recording?
I do.
Okay, so how about you tell me what was James Bond's assignment before we start?
On this mission, Bond is investigating the murder of a wealthy oil tycoon while going up against a man who feels no pain.
And this is World Is Not Enough. And we are now recording. Welcome to another exciting episode of Bond Never Dies. I am your agent, Jeremy Evans, along with my other agent, the man with the sound, Travis Hanna.
Ba-da, ba-da.
And we are here to do the recording of the file, The World Is Not Enough. And this is the third mission that Pierce Brosnan is on right now as James Bond.
Or second to last.
And second to last, that is correct. If you're curious about the other ones that we did a magnificent last two episodes of Tomorrow Never Dies with Curtis as a special guest. And before that, GoldenEye. So we're going now to the movie that kind of went a different way, I guess is the proper word.
The downward slope, I would say, with the Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, so for people, probably Tomorrow Never Dies was the peak, the tipping point of it all. And we're going to investigate this mission and figure out what happened after telling you everything that's going on. And so, but for everybody, remember, you can always listen to our show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, Podbean. Just make sure you look up the Endgame Boss program. And on YouTube, you can actually look up Bond Never Dies. And you'll find all of it there. But there will always be a playlist ready for you if you want to go through the Sean Connery and the Roger Moores. So we're very excited to give you a great, great mission. So let's go ahead and start out.
Don't forget Timothy Dalton's.
Oh, Timothy Dalton. Sorry, I'm merging both of these together.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, but let's go ahead and start our mission that does not include the mountains once again.
Oh, right. So it starts out with Bond is pretending to be a banker.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going into...
Got the glasses on and everything. He looks so intelligent and smart.
He's there to collect some money. He sits down. He's offered a cigar. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just it's a really weird setup.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah,
because there's supposed to be like it's funny because Bond is there for his own reason, but they don't know why, right? So... Because Bond's there to look for a name. He's looking for a name for a certain person, correct?
Correct.
And so, but they're thinking of, if I'm correct, money. So Bond introduces a picture of the suspect that he's looking for. And they're playing dumb that they don't have the information about it. But, you know, he's giving them a little, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of an
opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity.
Where they're just saying, we just found the money. We don't know anything else. We're just trying to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And Bond doesn't believe them, of course. And so he kind of warns them like this is their last chance. And they all start to fight him. And he uses his eyeglasses to blow up his gun to create a distraction. Meanwhile, there is a woman sitting in the office. And she'll play a key role later.
Yeah. So while she's sitting there, Bond ended up knocking out two of his goons. He has the banker guy at the gunpoint. Give him 3 seconds to give him a name, but mysteriously, well, actually not mysteriously, it's right there. He got darted to the neck
with a knife.
Oh, and yeah, with a knife, and it was the woman that was sitting down that ran off. Now, at that time, there was also, I believe, a sniper that comes into the situation after that. So that was kind of weird. And
correct, and the sniper actually helps Bond escape.
Yes.
And we don't know who it is. So Bond takes the money, he gets out on the balcony, and he ties a guy to a curtain.
Yeah, because security is going on, and what happens is Bond needs to find a way out. So what he does, he bashes the window with his safe of money that he had, that he got. And he ended up tying, I guess, what would you say that is?
It was like a curtain.
Yeah, a curtain or something.
But he ties it around one of the guys who's unconscious. And
he just looked at his time and he just jumped out the window using him as like an
anchor.
Yeah, an anchor, basically.
So as the guy is sliding towards the window, it's slowing down.
Because he's holding on.
Descent out the window. And then the guy hits the side of the window, and Bond lands on the ground safely and makes a getaway.
Right. And you would think right there, I honestly thought that, like, okay, so this is going to be the weakest intro going into this. I thought the music was going to play next. Like, okay, I guess this is different, but it's not. So Bond finishes the mission, heads back to headquarters, meeting up with M talking about the mission and everything like that. And in that office, they were welcomed by another gentleman, someone from M's past, basically. And that gentleman's name is
Sir Robert King.
Yeah. So they have a little history with each other. But Bond managed to get his money back. That's the reason why he was there, to get his money. And he left him to go get that money. Now, while Bond and them were having a conversation, they were talking about why it was so easy for him to get this money. You know what I mean? Like, this is a little bit too easy. And then he noticed on his hands, if I'm correct, Travis, is that he started feeling this residue or something.
Well, M pours him a drink, and he smells the glass, and the glass smells weird. And then he notices that the ice he grabbed, there was something coating them. Mm-hmm. And so he immediately thinks something is wrong, and he runs after Robert King. Mm-hmm. And Robert King is the owner of the money. So as soon as he comes into contact with the money, there's an explosion.
And it's huge. It makes a hole out of one of the side of the buildings.
Right, and it kills him. It kills King.
Yeah.
And so Bond notices that the woman from the hotel, from the bank, from the office, is pointing a sniper rifle or a rifle at him. He sees a red dot.
Yeah.
And so she takes a couple of pot shots at him, and Bond ends up in Q Branch, where he steals a stealth boat.
Yeah.
Or a tiny little boat.
Yeah.
Which drives Q crazy. Mm-hmm. And it turns into a boat chase.
Yeah. Now, Travis, before we even continue, let me ask you a question. Would this been awesome if that was Octopussy?
The little boat?
No, the woman.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome if
she
was a
cool.
woman from the past, from the other Bonds
coming
into? Because Bond never had a rival gun-to-gun fight with a woman that I don't know of.
No, not like this. He actually chases her down. It's a long chase scene.
It is, and it's so early too. I never had a chasing this early in the Bond movies, and this is a giant boat chase only because that Bond, one, he's learning as he goes how to deal with this boat. He doesn't know anything what these buttons do really. While this woman has, I guess, what would you call this, attachment to the boat with the sniper rifle?
She has the sniper rifle, but she's also got a machine gun.
Yeah.
Attached to the back of it, and her boat's a lot bigger. So while Bond is a little more agile, she could capsize his boat.
Right.
So she's trying to destroy his boat. Bond's just trying to capture her to get information. So it's a pretty good chase scene.
You like the chase scene?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
What did you think?
It was better than all the Bayou chase scenes.
Yes. I actually was enjoying the part where he took a shortcut and he ends up rolling through the streets, going through the town, going through restaurants. I thought that was pretty entertaining because the cops were chasing him too, and I think they stopped that. They're like, okay, he's insane, and then from there, Bond ends up kind of almost ramming into her, making her turn. Because he shot missiles at her.
Well, she shoots at him with the machine gun.
Yeah,
and he actually rams takes the boat and jumps off of her boat to take the machine gun out. And then she shoots him. She shoots at him with a grenade launcher. Mm-hmm. And then he fires torpedoes at her.
Yeah.
And she manages to make it to the shore where there's a carnival going on, and she gets in this hot air balloon.
By the way, that thing is bigger than I thought it was when I went to London. That thing is huge. The giant stadium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that thing is way bigger than what the movie's showing. That thing is huge. And so I went to London a couple years back when I went to go to Ireland too. And so that was remarkable to kind of see that again. It's holy crap, I seen that, and that thing is huge. So with that, she ends up escaping on the hot air balloon that she ends up taking. And mid-flight, while Bond is ramping off his boat, he managed to jump, being Bond, grab the rope, and start catching up. Now, she is now basically in charge, basically because she's the only one with the gun, and Bond is trying to convince her, like, it doesn't have to end like this. We can help you for whatever the situation is. He said, you can't help me from what's happening next. And she ended up shooting the gas tank, blowing up.
It's like a propane tank to help the hot air balloon.
Yeah, and then Bond falls pretty far down. Luckily, I guess the cloth or whatever they put on there kind of helped save his fall, but he was still tumbling like no other. So as he was falling down through it, there goes your intro, and then we go right into the music. So the music is played by Garbage. And if you don't know Garbage, they were like a rock band for about 2 years in the 90s and everything like that. So once again, we're back to the old visuals. This one's a little bit too much to me. I think it was kind of overkill. Like, I get what they're talking about because oil is supposed to be the theme of this. So you're seeing women getting sunk into this oil. You see these women models looking like they're oil figures and everything like that. Everything is drippy and trippy, kind of like a 60s hippie style.
Well, and it's multicolored. Like if you've ever seen an oil stain on the ground after the rain.
Oh yeah, you see the kind of
different colors.
Yeah, kind of like a rainbowish.
Yeah, like a purple, and red and green. Or yellow in there.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of neat. The computer graphics are a little dated.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite opening, but not the worst one.
Yeah, and then you see the sun that's supposed to represent like the ignition of like flammable and all this kind of stuff. The song though, it's tough. The song is tough for me only because like I like the first half of it, but I don't like the second half of the song. I think the song kind of fits what they were trying to do, but at the same time, after about a minute, you're kind of wondering, I think I'm ready to move on. I don't know how you feel about the song.
I didn't mind the song. I actually caught myself singing it a couple times.
Okay. Would you say this song was way more memorable compared to Tomorrow Never Dies and GoldenEye?
Maybe GoldenEye just a little bit more. For some reason, it caught me.
Okay.
Like I said, like I just catch myself sometimes, like it's still in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, like I said, I don't think it's a terrible opening.
No, I still think it's a little bit. I still think it's a little bit too. It's still a little bit too much for me. I think I'll give them credit for being taking a chance on an idea because it's oil and everything like that. But I don't know. I just feel like that it kind of just got a little. Pardon my being pun. I think it got a little messy, and so. But let's move on and go right into.
So they're at MI6
Scotland.
headquarters in Scotland.
Didn't know they had one.
I'm sure they're all over the world.
I know. This is the first time we ever got to see them go outside, kind of ish.
Well, I mean, there was the hidden boat one in Japan.
Yeah, don't remind me about that one.
Okay,
that's some bullshit.
So basically, Bond and a
Scaramanga.
bunch of other, I'm going to assume they're 00 agents, are getting a briefing on what caused the explosion. And essentially it was Mr. Robert King has a pin that he always wears. And somebody had swapped it out for it as a transmitter. And it transmitted a bomb that was hidden in the money and caused the explosion. So Bond actually, from the chase, got hurt. And so everybody gets a dossier about this mission except for Bond because his arm is in a sling.
But before that, we forgot to mention that a funeral did happen. And so at the funeral, there was a situation where we got to kind of see all the agents come and say goodbye to King and everything. But we also get introduced to the Bond girl.
Elektra.
Yeah, Elektra, the daughter. And you can kind of see that her and M kind of have a little bit of history, but we don't know what it is yet because this is just the way they were looking at each other. There's like there's something there,
right? Because
since she knows King, there has to be something with Elektra. Now, Travis, back to what we were talking about after that mission. Everybody was getting paperwork of what to do next except Bond because Bond actually hurt his shoulder from the fall from earlier,
right?
And he's not allowed to do anything until the arm is healed. So what does he do? He goes sweets talk the doctor.
Persuades the doctor to give him a clean bill of health with a little bit of Bond action.
Right. Like it was so easy. Like, wow. To go him. And so after he got, approved and everything like that, it's time to go to the Q branch. And this one here, it kind of hops around a little bit. Like, we're going to hear some stuff from Q, but then during this whole talk, we'll see some little bits and more stuff.
Yeah, throughout the movie, more gadgets that weren't shown here.
Yeah, and that's what we've been noticing in the Pierce Brosnans. They've been trying to, like, here's some stuff you should know, but we want to keep some other ones surprising.
Right. So, we also get introduced to John Cleese as Q's replacement because it's Desmond is getting up there in age.
Right, and I think Bond decided to call him R for now.
Right, because that's what comes after
Yeah,
Q.
right.
And, I mean, if you don't know, Q stands for Quartermaster, which is Master of Arms.
Right.
So, anyway, so John Cleese is going over the BMW Z8, which has titanium armor, multitask, heads-up display, 6 cup holders. Right before Bond comes into this room, he just sees a guy randomly playing a bagpipe, and it turns into a machine gun.
I love that conversation because, like, I forgot what Bond says, but I like when Q is just like, okay, pipe down. And so, but as this gentleman is describing what the car does, the car comes with all the stuff you expect and everything like that. But the next thing he talks about, if I'm correct, Travis, is the jacket that he is presented. And this one's an interesting one because it's a jacket that turns into an inflatable ball.
Well, and this scene is interesting because I don't know if John Cleese is trying to be funny or if he's just being an asshole to Q. Because Q says to tell him about the jacket, and he's like, you stick your right arm in through the sleeve, and then you put your other arm into the sleeve, and then you take the zipper and you put the other end of the zipper, and Q gets fed up and says, just pull the tab, and it like inflates the jacket and creates this ball. So,
so from there, you can tell like he's kind of rough a little bit. He's just getting his footing. I don't know. Maybe he's half and half, Travis. Maybe he does sound like a jerk, but I think he's just, it's one of those. It's my first day, so I'm going to be like saying everything that you should common person knows. We get that a lot.
Yeah,
we get that a lot. So, so from there, Bond decided to do a little bit of investigating about Elektra King. Elektra King by watching some footage off a computer that is a touchscreen. What the hell?
Well, we need to explain. It's not a flat monitor. It's an old school computer monitor that
it's like the first model of computers.
Screen. Yeah,
it's a touchscreen.
I mean, yeah.
What?
I mean, it's cool for the time.
No, it's just funny. It's fun. It makes sense as an agency they would have this before the market.
Sure.
Yeah, but just looking at it, it's like, they couldn't like get a flat screen on there. I mean, technology. I was just kidding. Anyway,
so Bond is finding out that Elektra was once taken hostage, and the amount of money that he got back at the beginning of the movie was the exact amount the hostages were asking for.
Right, because
the kidnappers.
Yeah, because he did a little bit of comparing money
pounds to US dollars.
Yeah, basically, and it all equals up. So when he tried to go a little bit further in about Elektra King, he was actually blocked out. He was not allowed to go into the file about Elektra King. So the only person that could do it was M, which Bond went to go approach. While M is talking in a meeting and stuff, Bond decided to bring up the fact that I can't get into this. Why? And so M has everybody leave the room so they can have their one-on-one talk. And M is talking about, you shouldn't take this personal or what you're doing. And he looks back at her and he's like, I think you're taking it personal. Tell me what's going on. And so she goes into this talk about she was held hostage. And they were asked for this much money, but she was not going to deal with them, do a deal with that. So basically, they kind of just at that time trying to figure out how they can get her out without.
Well, they used Elektra as bait.
Okay.
To get the terrorist.
That's right.
Named Renard.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, 009, who went after Renard,
someone else got mentioned,
shot him in the head, but it didn't kill him. It went into his medulla oblongata.
Somehow.
Right. And is slowly killing off his pain receptors and will eventually kill him. So every day they build him up as every day he gets stronger and he feels less pain.
Cue the rolling eyes.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like another agent got mentioned that actually like thought he completed his job by shooting him in the head, like mission's done, and he's like, I didn't kill him. What the hell is this guy made out of? You know? And it's one of those, Travis, does this one of those things that like it sounds good on paper, but just looking at it, it's like, I don't know, I want to believe that. Like if someone told me that, like, I don't know if I believe this guy would live. There has to be more to this.
Well, I mean, it's a movie.
I know.
I
guess I'm going through that. I mean, look, out of past all Bond villains, this one's up there that takes the cake.
Well, I mean, they're building him up to be he might be a pretty good opponent there at the end of the movie.
We'll see about that. Anyways,
so M sends Bond to basically protect Elektra.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to Azerbaijan or Azerbaijan. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Some company that deals with oil.
Well, it's a place, and Elektra's company is building an oil pipeline, and it's set to go right through this village. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a bunch of protesters and whatnot, and so she decides to have it go
Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan. Yeah.
Okay.
Azerbaijan. I thought I'd give it a try too. I'm sorry.
Sure. No, that's fine. So Elektra agrees to have the pipeline go around this village, makes everybody happy. Her and Bond talk. MI6 didn't really help very much when she was kidnapped. Mm-hmm. Her father died under MI6, so she has a little bit of a disdain for MI6, and she doesn't really want Bond to help her. Mm-hmm. But Bond insists, and so she has to go check this pipeline, or where the pipeline's going to go, which is up in the mountains where it's snowy. And so Bond insists on going with her, and they have to ski to the spot.
So, what do you think of the helicopter when it came in with the 3 buzzsaws? Was that interesting to you? Wink, wink.
So, yes, because I'd never seen anything like that before.
Okay.
When Bond first rolls up in his BMW, there's a helicopter cutting trees down, and it's got a giant, like 3 or 4 buzzsaws hanging from it. I mean, it was neat.
Yeah, because they were using it because they got to knock out like a lot of trees for the oil for the pipe to go through.
And this cuts right through the branches, so they can just cut the trunks down.
Right. So the mountains, huh?
Yep. So Bond and Elektra.
I knew there had to be a mountain somewhere. You can't have a Bond without them going to the mountains at least.
So the helicopter can't land. So Elektra and Bond jump out and they start skiing down this slope. To get to this area where the pipeline is supposed to go. And while they're bantering a little bit back and forth, these guys in snowmobile parachute, I don't really know what they're called.
Yeah.
But they just kind of come out of nowhere.
What should we call them? Snowmobile gliders?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. So this turns into a chase scene, where Bond essentially tells Elektra to go ski through the woods. I'm going to take him out in the open and try to stop him. Mm-hmm. Bond basically does. There's one kind of funny scene where this snowmobile has landed, so it let go of its parachute, and Bond tricked it into driving off a cliff.
Oh, this part is hilarious.
And then he's like, oh, I got that guy. And then it just opens another chute. And it's starting to come back around, and Bond essentially gets 2 to crash into each other.
I love the fact that Bond gave that. I love the look that he gave when he showed the parachute. He's like, "The hell?" It's like he was smiling, and then he tilted his head like, "Huh?" And so yeah, you're right. So he ended up getting those collided, and then further on, he ends up another one started chasing them down. And wait. Did it get chased down? Let me see here. Yeah. Sorry. After the mid-air crash, it caused a avalanche.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where Bond activates his jacket.
Right.
Which managed to block out all the snow that landed on top of them and everything like that. And Elektra, you could tell she gets a little she doesn't do well in tight closed places. And so Bond was trying to calm her down, and Bond's trying to hurry up and like get them out of there before she starts panicking and whatnot. I honestly believe that they would have died. That thing does not look believable that it would do that, but oh well, it is what it is.
So, but we also find out that Bond's watch is a flashlight.
That's right.
And so he activates the flashlight because it's dark. They're covered in snow, and Bond gets Elektra to chill out. And they make it through. Bond starts questioning Elektra about who would want to kill her, who would want to kill her father. Is it somebody close to them? Is it somebody they're enemies with? Don't really get too many answers. There's a lot of scenes in this movie where Elektra and Bond kind of talk back and forth, but not much information is passed. So Bond goes to this casino.
So I know, right? Where he's filling all this stuff. But I have one question for you, Travis, and I don't know if it's this scene or the next scene here. But did you notice that Bond got questioned about something in his past, but he didn't answer it, and that was about have you ever been married or you've been with somebody, and Bond just says, "Well, M and I are here to help you." So I think that's a fun. I don't know if they meant to do that, but I thought it was pretty funny that they like brought it up. Have you ever been married before? And he just didn't answer it. So I thought that was pretty funny. On to the casino where he is rocking new glasses.
X-ray specs even.
Okay, I like these glasses.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah. So you get to see a lot of things that you want to see and a lot of things you didn't want to see. So basically, he finds out at this casino that almost every individual in this casino is basically having a gun in their on their waist, on their legs, all that stuff. So it's like, what kind of casino is this?
So he's wearing X-ray specs. There's like a lot of gambling going on. People wearing cocktail style clothing. Apparently, all the women like white underwear. Because nobody's wearing black.
Right.
But like he sees everybody literally has a gun.
Yeah.
And essentially we get to meet back up with Valentine.
Yeah. Yeah. So he wants to see Valentine, but this guy said he doesn't know what he's talking about. Out there, Bond does his Bond move, which I did like what he did with the tie and everything. I thought was pretty cool. You have to watch it for yourself, guys. But they kind of get in a little fight and everything, almost a fight. And then one of Valentine's right-hand mans comes up. Kind of gold hair with some gold grills and stuff.
His name is Bouillon.
Yeah, he tells him that hey, Valentine will see you, follow me. So he takes him over there while Valentine is messing with his ladies, and Bond was telling him, I need you to clear him out. I need to talk to you one-on-one. And so him and Valentine go into a giant conversation about what is going on about
Renard.
Like,
who is Renard?
Who is this guy? What is his purpose? What do you know about him?
And we find out that he's ex-military. He went a little crazy, and nobody wanted to work with him or deal with him anymore. So he went out and started doing his own thing. At the same as that conversation is happening, Elektra shows up.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, what is she doing here? And so Bond immediately goes up and meets up with her and questions why she's there. And she is saying that if she lets the terrorists keep her inside and make her afraid, then they win. And so she's not going to let that happen. And so when she walks in, Valentine greets her and offers her $1 million credits, which is what he had offered her father previously. It's a standing thing. So she basically takes the $1 million. She takes the $1 million and immediately loses it on one card.
Mm-hmm.
They play this card game where they each draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Valentine, whoever has the highest card wins.
Yeah. What was the purpose of that? Was she trying to show dominance or something? Or she showing she's not afraid that she'll take any chance she got to do? I don't know.
We're supposed to think that's a little strange.
Yeah.
You know, it'll play back later.
So from there, Renard is talking to Electric's man. I don't even know how you would say this. Davidoff. Wow.
So they're at this place called the Devil's Breath, which is a natural, it's like a natural gas thing, and there's fires that continuously burn, and nobody really understands.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, I'm sure they do understand, but people have been coming there for hundreds and hundreds of years to worship there because it's so mysterious. And Renard is like grabbing these hot rocks, and they're not even affecting him because he's got brain damage.
Right.
And he's questioning these two guys. One of them, they both work for Elektra, but he's trying to figure out what went wrong with trying to kill Bond.
Yeah.
Earlier when they were at the ski slope.
Yeah. And so from there, they both talked. They both said their point and everything. And so because Renard is now choosing how to deal with them. So the first thing he did was he grabbed the rock and he went up to Davidoff and basically, made him hold it with his bare hands and, taking the pain. And then he talks to one of his men behind him to tell him shoot Dr. Markov. And then from there, since he failed, he said that Davidoff is going to replace him for the next mission. So he said, go ahead and get your ID set up and all that kind of stuff because you're going on this next mission. So
then we go back to Elektra's house where Bond and Elektra are naked in bed.
And okay. And no. But yeah, so they're kind of exchanging information. I mean, not really exchanging information. They're really just kind of just
Bond is curious on how she survived being kidnapped.
Yeah, so basically,
because essentially the story is she escaped her captors.
Mm-hmm.
And Bond is kind of like, well, how did you survive being a kidnapped victim?
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of blows it off and doesn't really answer him. She gives him like this pity story of how terrible it was.
Right.
So when she goes to sleep, Bond decides he's going to go snoop around the property.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls out a visa where when you slide the bottom down, a lockpick shoots out. Like you slide the card in half, so half of it goes up, half of it goes down.
Right, where the black bar of the card would be, right? Like on the back, yeah.
And like this lockpick comes out. So he gets into this office.
It's like a switchblade.
Right. He gets into this office and he's kind of investigating, trying to find information on really any kind of clue he can find.
Right.
And at that moment, Davidoff shows back up.
Mm-hmm.
So Bond sneaks outside and is behind Davidoff's car and decides to open the trunk.
And while he's in kind of investigate, but then he ends up finding
Markov's body.
And he decides that he go ahead and replace him. So, I guess you could say replace him, or he just gets in the car too.
Yeah, they don't show him pulling the body out, but Davidoff is taking pictures of himself with a Polaroid camera. Bond basically sneaks into the back of the car and lets Davidoff take him wherever he's going.
Yeah. So Davidoff is at the destination he needs to be at, where I guess you can hear a plane.
It's like an abandoned airfield or something.
Yeah.
out in the woods.
Yeah. So he gets a big surprise from Bond being knocked out, and Bond ends up kind of putting him up, and he was about to get ready to leave by the looks of it, but then he gets held up by one of the guys that came out of that plane and told him, "Hey, get ready, we got to go." So he automatically assumed that he is the guy. I mean, he assumed that they think Bond is Davidoff.
Right.
Yeah. So Bond ends up continuing to play that role using his ID, and grabbing the bags that were in the back of the car and starts heading to the plane. Now, while heading to the plane, one of the pilots came up and he said, "Hey, do you have the greasers?" And he's like, "What?" And so he just handed him a bag. He just took a chance to hand him a bag.
Yeah, he goes, "Of course." And he hands him the bag, and they open it up, and it's a pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah, I guess that's what you call greasers, I guess. And so Bond is getting ready for this mission. So while they're flying off, he's telling him, "Hey, put this jacket on. This is your disguise that you're going to be wearing to look like the rest of us." Bond hurries up and go to the bathroom, cuts out one of his other ID pictures to replace the picture of the ID that he has to use to get access into this base that they need to go to. So
they're in Kazakhstan. Mm-hmm. And they're on their way to a facility where they disarm nuclear weapons.
Yes.
So nuclear warheads. And Bond is slowly figuring out that Renard is needing nuclear weapons. He doesn't quite know what for yet. And so he arrives and he gets tested by... what's her name?
Tested by... Are you talking about Dr. Christmas Jones?
Yes, Christmas Jones.
Okay, which has such a... sounds like a last-minute name to name somebody. Anyways, Dr. Christmas Jones, played by Denise Richards. And while she was getting kind of undressed and getting changing out or whatever, Bond is talking one of the generals that's protecting the base... information about, hey, what's going on and everything like that. Bond shows his paperwork and whatnot, and then he gets introduced by Dr. Christmas Jones, where they kind of exchange a little information. She kind of gets a little side look at Bond because the fact that you're saying that you're Russian but you don't sound Russian.
Right, she says you speak really good English.
Yeah.
And he said that he studied at Cambridge, and she even talks to him in Russian to test him. And he talks back, but she knows that something is off about him.
Yeah.
So she sends him down because he's supposed to be inspecting the nuclear warheads or something. And while he's down there...
And before that, don't forget that she tried to be slick by testing Bond's skill by talking to him Russian, and he replied back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so for a second there... I don't like this intro that she had. I just did not like this intro. Just the fact that she automatically went eye candy on this. They automatically made her this eye candy the moment she came out. Instead of treating her I don't know. Maybe I'm stereotyping it. Maybe I would think they try to present her more of a scientist look than making her just kind of stripped down and
Yeah, she's got short. I mean, they're in the desert, but she's wearing short shorts and a tank top. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
Giving Bond a bunch of crap. But like I said, she's suspicious of him.
Yeah. So they head down.
And
in the underground base, Renard is there.
And Bond immediately grabs him and starts questioning him, and he's getting ready to kill him. And then we find out that Jones shows up with the military guy outside and is explaining that Bond is not who he says he is.
Right.
And she finds a picture of the real guy, and they end up arresting Bond, and Bond's trying to explain that they're trying to steal the nuclear warhead. In all the commotion, Renard gets away. He kills everybody but Bond and Jones. It's a whole scene where
they're trying at the same time. Renard, during this whole fiasco of the fight, Renard's goal is to get this bomb out this base, and they're swinging it on a swinging rail thing, basically. So the goal is to get that through to the elevator to lift up, but at the same time, they're trying to close these doors to block Bond off. Now Bond managed to make it through the door, leaving Mrs. Jones behind, and while they were making his way down, he ends up stopping the second hatch with one of these carts on the rails, and then as he almost makes it down there, Renard ends up escaping through an elevator. Right at the point Bond shoots at it, so you find out that I guess it's kind of bulletproof per se.
Yeah.
So next he finds out that Renard says a line that has been used by Elektra that we put together, because he says a certain line. At the same time, a bomb supposed to go off. So
right.
Bond
so
is trying to escape.
the elevator goes up, it actually pulls a pin on a bomb.
Yes.
And Jones is opening up this room where they were locked in, and as soon as the door opens, he says, "Close it," and he's like sliding down. But Renard ends up stealing the nuke. Bond and Jones end up escaping
To I guess you say the roof of the base or whatever. There's he ends up shooting this tank, and it kind of gives him a boost upwards.
It's like out of a missile silo.
And then from there, as soon as they manage to escape at the base thing, he finds out that he needs to he needs to go give somebody a house call. Basically.
Right. Well, before that, M is trying to figure out where Renard is going.
Where is he taking this bomb? At?
She knows that his he took off on a plane, and she is kind of guesstimating based on the type of plane, a big area that he would have to land because the plane only has so much fuel.
Right.
And while that's happening, Elektra calls M and says that she doesn't know where Bond went. He's missing. And that she would appreciate it if she would come personally to help protect her.
Yeah. So while that's going on, while that happened, something comes up at that moment. But what did happen? Well, let's take a break, and we'll be right back with the rest of the mission. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode as part of the Endgame Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. And remember, you can find all these shows on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. All you have to do is just follow and subscribe and enjoy all our other variety shows, like the Endgame Boss podcast, When Jeremy Met Nom and Finally Do a Movie podcast, Bond Never Dies, In the Cabinet Sessions. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. And welcome back to Bond Never Dies. I'm your agent, Jeremy Evans, along with Travis Hanna. And we left you with Miss Elektra summoning M to come, be security for her or come and, protect her.
Because Bond's missing.
Right? So while that's happening, at the same time, the moment she finished her conversation with M, I can't do it like you. Do it again. Bond shows up, and he is not looking happy. So he confronts Elektra, and he's talking about something, because Renard said a line that I heard you say, and how did he know that my arm hurt? Right. How did he know all this information about me? I don't buy it. You're not telling me something. And she's playing the victim card of saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Gives him a slap in the face. I've been doing I've been kidnapped, all this stuff. I don't know what's going on and all that. But yeah, Bond's kind of playing dumb.
It's a big woe is me.
Right.
And how dare you. But Bond explains to her about Stockholm Syndrome, where a captor, a kidnapped person, will start feeling an emotion towards their captor. So the biggest, this actually happened to William Randolph Hearst's daughter. She was kidnapped and radicalized and actually got arrested for robbing a bank at gunpoint. And I mean, it's a real thing. And so he's saying that you're in love with Renard, essentially, and that you two are working together.
Right. Because I guess if you kind of look at it, I mean, even though she was captured, the only person she could connect to that whole time was Renard, because that's all she can connect to, right? And so, so from there, I believe, let's see here. After the slap in the face, yada 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 yada. Bond gets talked about people getting killed at the pipeline, right?
Right. So Elektra gets a notification that there's been an attack at the pipeline, and that some people have died. Right as M arrives.
and they're talking about, what the situation is. And Bond, in mid-talk with M, kind of talking about, I don't think Elektra is who you really think she is. I think she is hiding something. I don't have proof, all this stuff, but I think, we should definitely keep an eye on her. And M is kind of playing M is trying to play the card where, like, not so much a card, but she's really trying hard not to believe Bond. You know what I mean? Not really trying to believe Bond that Elektra would do something like that. And so during that time, we get a report that there is, if I'm correct, Travis, there is a bomb being shot through the pipes.
Well, the bomb that was stolen, the nuclear bomb, or warhead that was stolen, they believe is going to be used to blow up one of their big facilities.
Yeah. So that is actually getting down into the pipe. So their plan is to rendezvous with it and try to stop it. So
Jones apparently has been with Bond this whole time, even though we didn't see her in the last scene. And she's here now, and essentially Bond and
wait
her...
in the car.
Right.
Just wait in the car. Don't touch nothing. Just wait in the car.
Wait in the car. And so now they're going to go after it. They're going to get in another... it's like... oh, man. Bond has dealt with these things a few times.
Right.
They're just oil pipe, welders, repair...
for now we'll call it a little rail shuttle or something like that.
An oil pipe shuttle.
Yeah. And so the goal is, like I said, is they're going to rendezvous with it, and try to match his speed, and try to disarm this bomb. So they end up shooting off, going down to this thing, trying to catch up with it. And right when they were trying to kind of like, trying to disarm it and everything like that, they set it up where it'll blow up, but it won't go in a giant radius as they got it, because they got the petroleum out.
Right.
Yeah.
Not petroleum.
Oh, is it not petroleum? Okay.
What's the word? Petroleum is oil.
Yeah.
So it's plutonium.
Okay.
And they realize that half of it is missing. So this isn't really supposed to be a nuclear bomb per se, but it's supposed to be big enough to hide the fact that only half of it was there, and to hide that it might have been an inside job. Yeah.
So Bond came up with a plan of, we should just let it blow up. Didn't explain why. Just said, don't get away from it. Let it explode. And, Dr. Christmas was kind of confused by it, but she followed with the plan and whatnot. And it blew up. And on the radar at the headquarters, it looked like it blew up. And now they believe that Bond actually died along with Christmas.
Right. And now that Elektra believes that Bond is gone, she pretty much informs M that she's the one who blew up her father by giving him the pin.
Gotcha, bitch.
So she gives him the original pin that she replaced, and explains that her father basically stole the oil from her mother, her mother's people, and that she's going to give it back to them essentially, and that this has been a revenge plot the whole time, and that she is actually the mastermind, and that she wasn't a victim of Stockholm Syndrome.
Right. And what did M do in that situation? Give her the biggest slap ever. And they took M with her as like a prisoner and whatnot. So why did Bond do that in the first place, you would say, as Christmas asked him? And he says, I want to let them know that we are dead, so we can kind of, go find more information about what's going on without them knowing that we are alive. And so Bond and Christmas end up heading towards Istanbul, Turkey. No. I'm sorry. Bond. They actually head to. They went to go to the caviar factory, but before that, in Istanbul, Turkey. Sorry, I apologize. We get a little information about the headquarters where Renard and Elektra meet up, and this is the first time we actually see them meet up into this movie.
So, Renard brings him with him the other half of the nuclear plutonium, and kind of lets Elektra hold it, because they believe it's the key to their whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of talk back and forth a little bit. Not really too much is said at this moment in time, but we cut to the Caspian Sea at the
Caviar factory.
At the caviar factory. Oh, I'm sorry. I am getting ahead.
You are. It's the best with you. No, because before we even get to that, we get a nice little talk about, with her, M, and Renard in this room, kind of talking about basically what would you say? Like basically talking about how she really feels about everything. She's mad because of the fact that you never took that chance to make the deal to save me.
And neither did her father.
Yeah. And so at the stroke of noon tomorrow, that was the plan to kill her as Renard puts the clock down on this little stool and says, yeah, so at noon you're going to die. And right. So now we go to the caviar factory where, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Gosh. Renard, there's so much time with Renard and Elektra. Yeah. I apologize, listeners.
So Renard and Elektra just got done bonding it. And Elektra is like, this is a really weird scene. She's like putting him down and talking about how he's incapable of feeling anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up like punching these tiles or this glass. And
I think he's mad because Bond did it better.
And then Elektra like comes up and changes her whole attitude. It's really weird.
This is a weird relationship.
Like, I think this is where we see that Elektra doesn't really care for Renard.
Yeah.
And that she's actually been using him the whole time.
Mm-hmm. You think that's the reason how she escaped is she kind of played the whole, like, I'm in love with you and all this stuff so she can get out, and then she got control of that. Is that a theory?
I believe that is exactly the case.
Okay. So after their little talk, and all this awkwardness, M is trying to get a hold of the clock because we don't know yet, but she's trying to get the clock that they was left behind by Renard because, maybe she can use it for something. We'll let you know in a minute. But it's finally time to get to the freaking caviar factory. Gosh,
hey,
I've been hyped for this. I've been hyped for this scene. That's why I've been kept.
In the Caspian Sea, there's a caviar factory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's owned by our boy Valentine.
Yes. Welcome back, buddy.
And Valentine and Bullion show up to the factory, and Bullion immediately sees Bond's car.
Why would he park it like that? He could have hidden that.
Dude.
He wanted to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to be seen.
Because he's driving around the flashiest car that BMW had.
Right. It almost like this. Doesn't it look like the same BMW from GoldenEye almost?
Almost.
Okay.
But so Bullion immediately calls Elektra and is like, Bond's not dead.
Uh-oh, he's on that team, huh? Didn't know that. Wink, wink. So anyways, Valentine goes in and who did he see? Well, Miss Christmas all dolled up, sitting on the couch.
She's wearing a very tight dress.
Right. And as, Valentine being Valentine's, I don't know why you're here, but, I'm glad you're here. What's up? How you doing? And Bond's behind with one of the workers that he has around his neck, and Bond aiming the gun right at Valentine. And, Valentine's already is like, oh, shit. And so they're back again, and Bond's trying to get information about, like, what is going on at this factory.
Well, he's asking, why did Elektra lose $1 million at your casino?
Mm-hmm.
And while he's questioning him, you hear this helicopter, and it's getting louder and louder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why is because the coolest chainsaw ever that we mentioned earlier is coming in, and this is where it gets really interesting. So there's I want to say there is 2 helicopters. Were there 2 or one?
There's 2.
Yeah, and they're both having these. Go ahead.
They're not on screen at the same time.
Yeah. So they both have giant chainsaws connecting. There was about 5. I was wrong. I thought there was 3, but there was like 5. So now a giant shootout's going out, and Bond's goal is to get to his car. That's what he wants to do. And so he's making his way around and everything like that, and he finally makes it to his car to drive only like a couple of inches forward just to shoot one.
Mind you, the whole time, this helicopter is like cutting these docks in half, cutting these pipes in half.
Yeah.
Like just destroying the place, trying to get Bond. And so he gets in his BMW, and he kind of positions himself underneath the helicopter, and he's got these like surface to air rockets.
Yeah.
And so with his key fob, he turns on the car and kind of drives it forward so he can get in, and then use the surface to air rocket to take out helicopter 1. And while he's like, oh, okay, that's good, the second helicopter shows up.
And he sliced the car in half.
So much for titanium armor.
Right. And so, but Bond managed to escape, and he's running in the dock with the most coolest action scene in the world. And from there, he makes it to, I guess you could say he makes it back to the building where Valentine and Denise, not Denise, I'm going to say her actress name, Christmas was. But before that, during that, Bond ends up turning these valves. I guess what'd you say? Is it gas leaking out of it? I don't know what you said. What is that?
I would assume it was like some sort of natural gas.
Yeah. Okay.
And he fires a flare into him.
Yeah, and the helicopter gets caught up in the fumes and blows up, while Valentine and Christmas are trying to escape the giant blades that fell apart, and Valentine ends up falling into a giant puddle of caviar, almost kind of drowning.
Right.
And caviar must be really heavy, apparently. And so Bond is kind of talking to him, trying to get some more information about everything, and it's almost like Valentine doesn't want to tell him what he wants to know, but he knows that I'm going to drown in caviar. That's not good on my resume.
Yeah.
And so we find out that
his nephew is in the military.
Yes.
And that the $1 million that she lost in the casino was a payoff for his nephew to steal something big and deliver it to her.
Yes.
And we don't know exactly what it is until the next scene, when we find out it's a giant submarine. And that the place in Istanbul where they are is actually a submarine base, an old World War II submarine base. So Valentine is kind of talking with Bond, showing him places where there used to be submarine bases all in the Caspian Sea that they would use as hideouts. And while they're talking, Bullion is hugging this briefcase. And he sets it down when no one's looking and just kind of quickly walks out. And Bond tries to get everybody out, and the briefcase explodes. So Bond goes after Bullion and immediately gets captured.
And so back at that base, back at the Electric's place, she ends up kind of saying her last goodbyes to M, basically.
Right, because she's going to be blown up in the nuclear explosion.
Yeah, so she says her last goodbye, but M asks her, well, what time is it? And so she, looks at the clock and says, well, it's time for you to die. And she leaves the clock right on the rail of the
bars.
The bars, what M took after they left, and she kind of tinkered with it to get a signal out.
Well, M has the locator card from the nuclear warhead.
Okay, and if we didn't mention that, we apologize for that.
And she uses the 9-volt battery that's in the clock to activate the tracking beacon, so they know. So MI6 knows where to go, and so right before Bullion blows them all up, Bond gets the location. Bullion sets down his briefcase. Bond goes after him. It blows up, and Bond gets captured.
So
they're at the submarine base, and Renard is giving refreshments to the sailors, and we've come to find out that it was poison, and Renard essentially killed everybody, including Valentine's nephew. And so Bond is then brought to Elektra in one of her rooms, where he's going to be tortured in this chair that has a metal thing that goes around the neck and a screw in the back. And as you tighten the screw, it pushes against the back of the neck and chokes the person on the collar.
And very old school torture, right?
Right. And this is actually another throwback to Her Majesty's Secret Service. In that movie, we find out that the Bond family motto is Orbis non sufficit, which means the world is not enough. And Elektra asks Bond, was the world not enough for you? And, and he says, family motto, actually.
Yes. So that's a cool little turnaround, kind of like towards the old school Bond movies and whatnot. So while he's getting tortured, she's basically kind of like feeling eager to talk a lot. She felt like, I'm in control of this whole situation. So, she's being kind of seductive, but being tortured, trying to really hard to just have fun with Bond. Now at that point, Valentine shows up, right? And he's trying to figure out what's going on. And he, I guess what you say, he was shooting up everybody, right? Making his way up to the top, because he ends up shooting his right hand man, Booyah. So he makes his way up, and he sees Elektra, and he wanted some information
about his nephew.
Yeah, and he sees Bond being Bond, trapped up. But what he didn't notice is that Elektra grabs the hat that
his
nephew was
the captain's hat,
that, right. And so she ends up using that as a way to shoot her gun through the hat to shoot him. So she kicks the gun away, and she goes back to finishing working with Bond. But Vincent had a little bit extra breath on him, and on his little cane that he carries at all times, it happens to be a gun too. Right. So he aims. He makes it look like that he was going to aim at her, but fakes out and tries to aim at Bond, looking like he's going to kill Bond. But he ends up shooting one of the
armor strengths
that are on the right side, and it looks like to Elektra that he was just a terrible aim, but he did it on purpose to help free Bond. And so as she gets a little closer, Bond managed to break himself out and catch it. Now, can I ask something right here? Do you think that thing was not that tight then? He breaks that out like it was nothing.
Well, I mean,
I don't
It's
know.
a movie, but I mean, it looks like he's choking. He's suffering through the whole scene.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it as he managed to get out, but I don't know how did you loosen up to get the other ones? Look like he just pulled it open them. It's just
Maybe it just has a quick release latch.
I guess so.
You can get your hand on it.
Yeah, I guess. And
it doesn't have a lock on it.
Oh, well, I don't know why he couldn't just force his head out of it. But anyways, that's a different story. Anyways, so Bond chases after Elektra as they're making all the way to the top. But halfway, he ends up freeing M.
Right. He sees M, lets her go.
And just continues going. Like, hey, I'm glad you're okay. Bye. And so he makes his way to the top. And Elektra is playing this card where you're not going to shoot me. Well, we just made love and all this stuff.
He gives her a radio and tells her to tell Renard to stop. And she's like, you're not gonna do anything. You wouldn't kill me.
We did stuff together.
Right. And so he shoots her.
Yeah, I actually liked that part because I thought it was going to be like, oh, God, this is going to be dumb. He's going to try to rescue. But it was more of awesome. No, we're not going to play this game. You already lied to me once. I'm not doing this. And so of course, M saw it happen in action. And, she's trying to deal with what happened. But meanwhile, Bond hurry up to catch up with Renard and just straight jumped off the building into the water to catch up with the sub that was dipping down.
Right, so the submarine is starting to dive or take off, and so Bond jumps from the balcony into the water and gets into a hatch just before the submarine goes below the surface.
Mm-hmm. And so from there, and this is a pretty interesting scene. So meanwhile, while in the sub, I guess what you say, Travis, he's kind of getting ready to activate.
So the whole thing is the submarine is nuclear. and they're going to use the plutonium to cause the nuclear reactor in the submarine to be the catalyst for the nuclear explosion. Yeah. And it will just look like a failed training exercise, and it'll be catastrophic and all this stuff.
So as he's making his way through subway, guess who showed up? Miss Christmas. Totally forgot once again that she was in this movie, and they keep going further into the submarine, and they find the room where Renard is in. He goes in. But before
that, he's going to try and make the submarine go up.
Oh, okay. I thought that was after. Okay.
Right. And he ends up making the nose dive and then shoots the controls. So the submarine the nose starts going down.
Oh, okay.
The tail is like coming up. Mm-hmm. And then he goes after Renard.
Oh, I guess I was talking about where he had everybody at gunpoint, getting everybody to the other room, and then he was in control of everything like that. Right when it goes in, then our fight scene comes in. One guy came in, he hits one out. Then it becomes a gunfight. Of course, Bond uses one of them as a meat bag, and Bond, they're shooting it out and everything like that. Ends up closing the door behind them, leaving the controls all busted up where they can't control the balance of the sub. The sub is going straight down no matter what. So now Bond is telling Christmas to hold on to something, because this is gonna hurt, because even though the submarine is being tilted down, it's still going, so it's going to hit the ground straight up from there. So as soon as it hits, everything just got shifted. Water's leaking, water's coming up and everything, but Bond needs to hurry up and get to Renard as soon as possible. So the plan is that I need to open this hatch. I mean, we're going to open these hatches, and I need to get to that other one. When I get to that other one, I need you to drain that water so I can get up to Renard.
Right, because Renard has locked himself in the reactor room.
Yes.
And the only way in is by flooding part of the submarine so Bond can swim.
And so Bond makes it in there, but Christmas is having a bit of a struggle trying to get to the switch, because the water pressure is getting to her and everything like that. Bond is almost drowning and everything like that. But she managed to make it in time, and Bond managed to get in there to fight Renard. Now, at that time, too, Christmas is trying to meet up with Bond. So now Bond and Renard are fighting in the
reactor room.
Yeah, and it's awkward, right? Because it's nothing but bars and everything. So say what?
Start the reactor.
And so they're kind of wrestling and throwing punches and everything, but it's still kind of awkward, and they're exchanging, lines exchanging talk to each other, like, you're not going to get away with it and all this kind of stuff.
Also, he tells them that Elektra died.
Yeah, that was going to say he was going to reveal that, and Renard just went psycho. Now, at that time while they're fighting, Christmas is actually under them, under them, waiting for him to open up the hatch so he can get her in. And so after he gets her in and everything, Renard got the upper hand, kicked him into this other room and closed him off. Christmas is, I don't think she's knocked out, but she's just over there. I don't know what she's doing. Because during this whole time, Renard is trying so hard to get this reactor to start by pushing this.
It's a plutonium rod.
And every time he does the Bond is messing him up. So he managed to get it all the way in there. And while he's going in there, one of the air valves, these little valves that look like a little yellow hose and whatnot, came loose. Right. So you could tell the pressure is too much, so stuff is just popping off. And when this meter hits the red, that means it's like, holy crap, it's going down. So he almost got it in, but Bond managed to find the hole where the hose was falling off, puts it back in there. And right at that moment, right when he pushes it back in there, I believe he presses a switch, if I'm correct, Travis. And the rod comes shooting right back out, hit him square in the chest.
Right, because it's a pressurized system.
Yeah.
So the hose that came off pressurized, I guess, that whole thing. And Bond hits a button on where he just pushed the rod into, and immediately shot it out into his chest.
Yeah, and boom, there he goes. He's done. So now it's time for Christmas and Bond to escape. So they're making, basically they make their way out through the valves.
Well, through the torpedo bay.
Yeah, and so they managed to make it out, swim all the way up, and then right when they make it up, they saw a little cruise touring boat on the side, which they think they were just trying to say hi to them, but they're like, no, come rescue us and all this stuff. Then we get back to Scotland.
Scotland at the
where
MI6
they
facility.
think Bond is, where they haven't heard from Bond for several hours. They don't know what's going on. He hasn't called back or anything like that. But Bond is too busy having a good time with Miss Christmas.
Right. They're having drinks, fireworks going off in the background.
He says this line that, the fact I never thought I was going to have Christmas this early. I guess Christmas came early. Anything you can get the Christmas jokes, even though Christmas said before, like, yeah, I heard all the jokes. And so they find Bond, and they find Bond in this room with Christmas through heat, sonar, infrared. And when it turns,
so it looks like one body.
Yeah. And it's turning red.
It's getting hotter.
Yeah.
And then they see another leg move. So there's like 3 legs. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh.
Awkward.
And so John Cleese kills the satellite feed and explains that it must be some early Y2K bug.
Womp womp.
And that's where it is.
And so for the listeners, if you're listening to this, we're not gonna lie to you. Overall, did Bond finish this mission? Yes. And to tell you the truth, I think it was pretty easy. To me, I think it was easy, and because it was so easy to me, it was kind of boring.
Well, that, and they built Renard up to be like there was going to be a really cool fight, but even like the choreography was clumsy. Mm-hmm. It was not very exciting at all.
Right.
I mean, this is definitely the downfall.
Yeah. So let's talk about how we feel about we do our categories and whatnot as we normally do. If this is your first time listening to it, we know where we talk about the Bond girl, the Bond villain, how we feel about overall plots, the Q branches, all this stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the Bond villain first. So the Bond villain, we had 2, Elektra and Renard. I like Elektra to the point where she could not do this alone without Renard helping to do the performance too. It was supposed to be them connecting together to make them this double villain fiasco thing, but the problem is Elektra felt like they focused too much on Elektra and not enough on Renard, and Renard ended up being the weakest link because of that. And what they try to do, they try to flip it on you as Renard is supposed to be this main villain, but he was basically really a second hand to Elektra, and just the execution did not work out.
Right. And like I said, they built Renard up to be this guy who is super strong because he has no limits. He doesn't feel pain. So someone that's going to be a real formidable bad guy for Bond to fight. And it's like, well, how is Bond going to stop someone like that?
Yeah, that can't feel anything. And the really, decision to fight in a submarine was not the greatest choice.
No, because there wasn't a lot of room for them to fight. And it was really like them knocking each other down.
Right. And it feels like the fight from Tomorrow Never Dies with what's his face. That's a fight that I was expecting to be where he's stabbing him and all this stuff and it's just not killing him. That's the fight I was suspecting from that.
Right. And it just didn't come.
Yeah. So but Elektra on the other hand, she did a good job, but her motives was still kind of weak. The way they wanted her to do.
She was basically a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
The whole movie.
Yeah.
And not a very strong villain.
Right. And that goes right into our Bond girls. So like we said, Elektra was a little bit lackluster. But Denise Richards' character, Christmas Jones, I mean, granted, she wasn't like Denise Richards' character for it. One, she was so forgettable. She was almost there, and she only had one part that was important, but she could have been thrown away halfway through that movie. After the whole plutonium scene, they could have threw her away. She had no purpose after that.
And I feel like they kind of tried to, when Bond shows back up at Elektra's house, because it's like she's nowhere to be found, and then in the next scene, she's there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So she's more like an afterthought.
Right.
I just overall not very impressed.
No. I think it was just a bad choice to have her, and the bad choice to not make this character more interesting or more purpose wise for this. Because like I said, like if she wasn't in the second half, it wouldn't change anything. Because there was no other skills for her. She didn't have any revenge. There was no one that took away from her. She was just there to, in case there's a bomb involved, I'm the person to help you out. But there was no other issues where she had to disarm a bomb after. So why was she there?
Well, she had to open that tube so that Bond could get into the reactor room.
Yeah. But I think Bond could have had a device that they could have had earlier to do something.
No,
like
for
that.
sure. It wasn't. It's not very good.
Q Branch. Did the gadget work out for you, Travis? Did you like the car again?
Yeah, the car was disappointing.
Yeah, the car was there for one thing again.
Yeah,
and it's funny. It did more work than GoldenEye by doing one thing: shot missiles.
Yeah, and even then it was just, and then got cut in half.
Mm-hmm. The card lockpick was interesting, and the watch surprised us with a flashlight.
And there was a grappling line in there, too.
And then the inflatable ball was a little lackluster.
Yeah, all around.
Everything felt like it was foam in.
All around, just wasn't impressed with this Bond, to be honest.
Yeah. So, with ending the show, The World Not Enough is almost up there with For Your Eyes Only. And that was another really boring film for me, too. And it's up. Those two are right now close to each other. I don't know which one is more boring.
How do you feel about From Russia with Love? You liked From Russia with Love.
I did. I think it was more entertaining, only because Grant, the character, was really interesting for that. For Your Eyes Only, that actually, if you think about Travis, For Your Eyes Only and this one, I believe, were almost similar. Because you had, I believe that's the character that we thought that was the main person, ended up not. It was the other person that was using them.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly the same thing. So they both have in common. And so don't do those kind of, for the Bond movies in the future, don't do that idea anymore. And so, but Travis, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No. Just join us next time when we do
the very last one for Pierce Brosnan.
The very last one for Pierce Brosnan.
But remember, we are part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming, and we do these James Bond movies for the love of James Bond. So make sure you check out episode 0 so you can find out what our top 5 Bonds are before going in. And then after we go through all of the Bond movies, we'll be going down the line of what's our top 5 favorite movies, what's our ranking our Bonds, our Bond girls, our Bond villains. We'll be talking about Bond actors that got that got offered the roles and how we feel about it. What people do we want to be villains in the future Bond movies and everything like that. And remember, you could always reach us on, of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and YouTube. And, find that under the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. And we have a bunch of other great shows you need to check out that I recommend. But if you're a Bond person, you can always chat with us. Tell us, what Bond movie did you like? Did you like World Is Not Enough? Do you think it's overly hyped? Do you think it just didn't get the appreciation it needed? Do you think that movie was not enough to fulfill your love for Bond and everything like that? But while you're there, go ahead and follow and subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and tell us if we're doing a great job or doing a bad job. Show your support. We like talking about Bond. Travis, once again, thanks for being an agent and coming on the show. And we have one more in the chamber.
We're going to die another day.
Yep. And then after that, we go into the Daniel Craigs. We're almost at the end of this series.
Almost.
Yeah. It's actually, we're coming on, by the time you hear this, we'll be coming on our year.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. But with that, we will catch you on our next mission.